I'm Nakitatile. Muruti is already here. So I still have to wait until it says heart to heart. Muruti, how are you?
I am so happy in the rain.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
People are like
rains,
really confused. Are we in winter already? What's happening?
From the look of things, you look like you are stuck to summer. You are refusing to wear a jacket.
I refuse because...
You are refusing to wear a jersey. You are refusing to get warm. You are just stuck to your summer.
No, I have to fight. I have to fight because... last night I was struggling. My feet were cold.
Is it?
I tried. I ended up getting all sorts of blankets and
Funny enough, winter
socks.
is my best season of the year, honestly.
I don't know, as I'm getting a little older, I'm like, I gotta love some.
No, I honestly think I can do better with winter
Really?
than the coldness. I mean, with winter than the sweat and the what do we call the heat waves of summer.
Yes.
Right?
Mara muruti go kokoropana ka winter. When you have to sleep and you sleep like a baby in the womb. And those heavy clothes. Okay, all right. I don't know. I'll choose my side. Welcome back, Muruti.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Our financial fitness coach is in the house. Muruti, what's happening? We are left with 1 week.
1 week and it's going so far.
Is it one? Is it two?
I honestly think it's one because it's actually happening next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so there's just literally
so we don't count this one anymore.
Yes, yeah. 1 week to go. We're going to the School of Money. If you've not heard about it yet, we are hosting the School of Money and live jazz. It's going to be happening at the Sterland Cinema in Arcadia, Pretoria on the 29th of March 2025. So month end Saturday. That's what myself and Sibongile are talking about right now. So 1 week to go to the School of Money. You gotta be there. You really have to register and find yourself there. It's gonna be so life-changing, learning about finances, but in a very fun-filled way. That's what we're gonna be doing.
Who is it for?
Well, everybody that wants to improve their relationship with money. When you ask people, how is your relationship with money? Some say it's critical. Others say it's complicated. So if you want to get to a place where money works for you, you don't work for money. Money works for you. And I always say you want to get to a place where you have a lot of money at the end of the month than a lot of month at the end of your money.
Yeah.
This seminar, it's for you. Just come and get fresh ideas about financial education, financial literacy, how you can save your money, how you can get out of debts in a very interactive way. The thing I love about the School of Money is it's not just a monologue. People get a chance to ask questions, to hear from us. And, the jazz just spice it up. And you get to meet so many people there and
networking.
Even some financial institutions are going to be there. You really want to be there, honestly. Yeah.
So if it's somebody who says, now I want to make money. Now when I make money, Muruti, I want to start business. I want to be the money maker. Yeah. But I'm afraid of getting into some of these sticky situations.
Exactly.
And end up being the one owing more than...
the money makes you instead of you making it.
Yeah,
right?
so
and you lose a lot.
Is it for somebody like that as well?
Money traps. We've talked about money traps on this show. And money traps is a subject, one of the chapters in my book. You're going to be getting a whole lot of that. It's really for someone like you. There are people who have the money, but they are just not sure which asset class to choose, when it comes to investment options how to build an investment portfolio. I will definitely say this is for you. You got to be there, and the information that's going to be shared there, it will be helpful to you, whether you are looking for financial freedom in a form of debt counseling or you are looking for an opportunity to build an investment portfolio. The School of Money is really for you.
So I want to come. What should I do?
If you want to come there, send us a WhatsApp text with the word School of Money and send the WhatsApp text to this number. The number is 071 352 4581. I'm going to repeat. Send a WhatsApp number to 071 352 4581. And then we're going to send you all the registration details. By the way, the registration is 500 rands per person. It covers your entrance, it covers your meals, your refreshments, popcorns, drinks. Yeah, and it's just going to be amazing that whole Saturday afternoon. We're going to start at 4 p.m. We're hoping to take it all the way to about 8 p.m., 9 p.m. there because of a little bit of fun. Good opportunity to get to meet people, to network.
Yeah, of
also
course.
get to hear what other people are doing in terms of business.
And who knows,
so forth.
you can come out with business partners or
With business partners as well.
or
yes.
a promise for
Exactly.
a financial. Yeah. All right.
Most
071
352 4581.
All righty then. And today you're talking about our relationship with money, a healthy one for that
A
matter.
healthy one.
Not a complicated one.
Not a complicated
All right.
one.
What are we exactly talking about? Were we talking about that first before?
Wow.
What kind of that relationship?
Relationship. It will be nice to ask our listeners, what is your current relationship
With money.
with money?
Hey,
If you
Baba
ask
Mbarun.
me that, I'll tell you it's free. I'm free.
But-
I'm debt free.
some of us get palpitations when you ask us about
But if you
that.
asked me that question,
Yeah.
2-3 years back, I would tell you it's complicated. It's a once-off relationship. So you remember when we talked about once-off
Yes.
money that
Money
comes
in
into
comes
your
and
account,
out. Yes.
you only
You
see
see it once.
once and then it's gone. So
Yeah.
when I started with my journey of recovering from finances, my personal relationship with money was that complicated. You know, I was asked a question last week on one other radio station, and then the person said, "Give us the best advice to do with the money." And I said, budgeting is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went.
Yes.
And just when I said that, budgeting is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went, for a moment I thought, wow, that actually used to be my life. You know, you would spend money
And then
after
not
that,
know exactly
start lifting
how.
up fingers, trying to
Oh, I
figure
did
out
that,
who did
and-
you pay, where did it go
Yes.
to, and so forth. Yeah. So relationship with money is what me and Sibongile are talking about today.
So, Muruti, there are some who are starting out on business, and whenever you start or at work, whichever one that you start it because you've seen, you have something, a vision
Yes,
of yourself
yes.
driving that car
Oh,
with
yes.
with the wheel at the
I know
back.
I actually know a few of your visions. I just won't tell, but
And
I
then-
get what you are
Yeah,
talking
and then
about.
there are those ones who just want to give. Yeah, you see yourself buying Muruti Lebepe jacket and then
No,
you,
man,
you
don't reduce them to a jacket for me, man. Give a better example. Buy me a car or something.
I like it. Oh my goodness! But now there are those ones who are givers and all that. What is the first thing that you need to do when you start working,
Okay.
or you're starting out on a business? For
When
that
you
matter?
start out on a business, Sibongile, we have to change our relationship with money. Most of us, and I'll speak myself included, our relationship with money is that we understand money to be something that you spend or use.
Yeah.
All our lives, we've just used money.
Yeah.
From the time we were born, you will go to your mom or dad or your parents and you would ask them, can you please give me a 10 rand, 20 rands? And then they will ask you, what do you want to do with this money? And you say, I want to
I'm
buy
going to
some
buy
lunchbox.
sweets.
So
Yeah.
we grow up with this definition that money, it's something that you spend. And therefore, we end up with a fixed relationship where with money where we actually use money. That's the thing. We see money as a utility, something that you really need to use. There's an old definition most of us read in books where they'll say money is a medium of exchange. And for most of us, that's our understanding. We understand that once you have it, you must let it
use
go
it.
in exchange for something else.
Yeah.
And that relationship left us with a mindset and ultimately a relationship with money where we understand it to be something that we use. This is why even statistics shows that over 60% of the middle income working class people have money for less than 7 days after payday. It actually says that a lot of people who are working are broke on the third day after payday. And the reason for that is because there's a huge consumer mindset. There's a mindset in us that says, once I get this money, I need to spend it. Have you seen how the malls get full, Sibongile, month and payday?
Yeah,
Malls get
because
full,
that's
restaurants get full. Every place is so, people can't wait to spend their money. There's just an impulse in you that says, I gotta get up, dress up, and go spend.
Then we need to change the way we do things, because
really
you start your child at the age of 3, 4. You say, take, go buy sweets. That's all they know money to be, and they grow up like that.
Yes.
So it's something that's in us.
What I started doing myself with my child, for an example, I started teaching them that we're going to open up a savings account for you guys in your names. Obviously, you as a parent can control what goes into that amount and so forth. And these children of these days are so e-wise. I mean, they understand gadgets and all of that. And we open up a savings account in their names, and we transfer maybe 100 rands into that account. And each month end, you actually show them the transfers. See, this is what I've put up in your money. I mean, in your savings account.
Yes.
And then you also give them a transactional account where they can transact and maybe draw out from an ATM 50 rands, and then they go spend it. And then you sort of build this mindset of savings, and you tell them that the savings account, you're not going to tap into that. I'm going to give you that money at the end of the year when we go for our year-end vacations.
Okay.
And you should see how their eyes pop out when you are on vacation. And you give them their savings card, and then they go to the bank and they check their balance, and then you take them out to a restaurant and you say, each one of us is going to pay for themselves. And you should see the pride in them. And then you ask them a question, how did you make that money? How much do you have? And you hear them saying, I've got 2,000 rand. Wow, you are a rich, rich girl. How did you make that money? And then they say to you, I've been saving up the money for the entire year. It's really a very healthy relationship to build with children from the time they are still young, rather than a situation where all you do is to give them money each time
and
they
tell
want
them
to get
go
something. Go buy. Because once you do that, then you inculcate this mindset, and you ultimately and subsequently build up a relationship that says money, it's a spending utility, something that you use to spend. And that mindset grows with us into adulthood. That's why most of us, when we get paid and when we have our salary, what we know that salary to be, it's to spend. That's all we know.
It's exactly what you were talking about at the malls.
We go and spend it, and then we are broke, and look what happens. We then go back to work. It's a red race, you know. We go back to that cycle of going back to work, working again, so that you can earn money again, spend it again. And that's the reason why most people, when they lose their jobs, they go into depression, because they just can't survive a month. They can't stay a month out of work, because they are already caught up in a system of receiving and spending. They have no reservations. They have got no capital preservations, no savings whatsoever. A lot of people are actually living from paycheck to paycheck. They are at the mercy of their salary. And, you know, it's hard to break that stigma once you are an adult. You really have to subject yourself to money education and awareness, like we are doing right now. And start, for even you to get to a place where you are disciplined, it starts with awareness, being aware that, you know, money is not a spending utility. It's not just something I spend. I actually have to to save some. So I always say there's 3 things you need to do with your money. You spend some, you save some, you give some. Now, a lot of people only do 1 or 2 of those things. They spend, and then maybe they give black tax, you know, or give a tithe at church and offering. All that is good. But there's actually a very few number of people who actually spend some, give some, and save some. And with what we call the basics of consumer economics, this is when you are still a grassroots financial student, when you are just starting to learn how to have a good and a healthy relationship with your money. This is what we say to beginners. We say you give 10%. That's for new beginners. It's new beginners class. It's baby steps. You give 10%, you save 15%, and you spend 75%. That's easy. If your relationship with money and your spending habit is not like this, then you're not doing it right. You have to give 10%, save, strictly, religiously save 15%. Untouchable. Forget about it. It goes out into a savings account and it's forgotten. And then you live on 75%. And for you to actually do that, we say it's baby steps. Welcome to the money class. You have just started.
Sure. All righty then. Janet Flakes Auto Flock. Hello to you. Shalom, shalom. Koli says, they say we must let it go and tell it to come back.
Please,
talk to your money.
Is it Koli or who?
Yeah,
please tell us, how do we talk? I want to talk to money and tell it to come back.
Come back. Talk to your money.
Imagine you just spend it at the clothing store and then
telling it to you come back. You should come back.
It's fraud, Koli.
Palesa Mutwening says, how Sibongile? Just a quick question on money. Is maybe paying title also, I think tithe. I think tithe also a factor as to why we are broke so early after being paid. Hey, okay, that question is very... Let me repeat it.
And remember, it's directed to a pastor. Did you tell her? Did you warn her that this financial coach guy is a pastor?
All right, he is a pastor.
Whether my tithe is responsible for you being broke.
I'm
coming for you.
Let's read the question again.
Okay.
Is maybe paying tithe also a factor as to why we are broke so early after being paid?
Palisa, the devil is a lie. That's what I'm going to say to you. But okay, this is what I remember. I don't know if I did this with you here or it was elsewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, someone asked me, in fact, they actually called me to come and talk about tithe. And I think their aim was, let's get someone who can just, talk people into tithing, right? And it was a bit of a disappointment to them, but they ultimately got why I tackled that subject the way I did.
Yeah.
I said, when you want people to give tithe, don't emphasize tithe. Don't focus on the tithe. Focus on money management. Research in the financial space and the financial literacy education space has shown, and it's true, I can tell you that as a pastor as well, that people who struggle with giving, right? It's because they struggle with money management. They have got issues with how to manage money. They simply have poor personal finance management skills. So this is what I did in my church. I once realized that there was poor tithing response in my church, and it concerned me. Because it's the bone of contention. If we don't have the funds, then how do we run the work of God? And then I started financial education in my church. I started teaching people how to eradicate debts, teaching consumer economics, save 10%, save 15%, spend 75%, give 10%. And guess what? Without even focusing on the tithe, I started seeing the tithing itself, sort of increasing. People started tithing more as they became financially free. The other fact is this. He asked whether it's a factor, but let me give you the real factor. People who struggle with tithing also struggle with saving. I'm going to say that again.
Because
people who
you
don't
go back
tithe
to the Lord and say,
also don't save. So if a person is not a tither, they are also, most of the time, also not a saver. You will find that they don't put out any money in any savings account. And the reason, it's not the tithe itself. The tithe is just one of those expenditures. It's one of the things you spend your money on. You gave it away. But what exactly is the reason why you are broke, as Palisa has asked?
It's a poor management of money.
Or
poor relationship.
A poor relation, a complicated
okay, Pali. I
money.
see Pali still wants to come back and say, I meant. All right, Palis, we'll wait for you. And Koli as well. You said, I have... And then it just got stuck there.
I'm sure they are listening.
So please,
typing and
continue.
Like it's coming after what I'm typing right now. So I better listen. But anyway, that's the thing. I hope that answers Palis's question that, the tithe is not a factor. Otherwise, you can blame it on anything. There are people who don't blame it on the tithe. There are people who blame it on the black tax. If it was not for my siblings, you will always have
Which is
something
a sad one,
to
Moruti,
blame your mismanagement of money on.
But when it comes to those with black tags,
Look, I always say,
when you
it's
have
the equation.
demanding parents, for example,
75% you spend, 10% you give, 15% you save. That is a religious. It has to be. You need to obey these basic economics religiously. And so you need to then accommodate your parents within your 75%. If you can't, and it results in something not being paid up, there's a chapter in my book, Life After Death, that I love so much. It's called budgeting, right? And then we've got what we call deficit budgeting. And deficit budgeting, I explain in my book, it's when you put out a budget and you write a list of things you have to pay, and you ultimately find that there is something that you did not pay, right? Yes, and then that's where the problem comes. So if you can't give your parents, your siblings, it's simply because you can't afford. It's not that you are a bad person. Give them what you can give, not what they demand.
I sometimes pray for, there's that word.
Hallelujah.
That D word, the
Yes.
demanding. That's
No.
problem.
You ask me, you say, Lucky, please give me 1,000. I say, oh, my dear, I can only give you 300.
It depends
I
on
must
the
be
families.
allowed.
It depends on the families. They tell you.
No, it depends on what I can afford.
There are those families that say, every month we expecting 4,000.
But what were you? How were you living your life before I started working? I'll ask a question.
Let's listen to this one first and then continue. I think you met Lebepe.
Dumela Moruti. Dumela Mama Sibongile. Dumela Moruti. Yo Moruti. O itse mafoka wa buang. Yo. Antlhaba Moruti o itse keng. Ha ra khona go ruta bana bana go save tšhelete mare ka modimo ba feditse sekolo re ba isitse sekolong ke mosimane le mosetsana abuti o etsa 30 years ka di 29 tse o buang ka tsone Moruti mme ka la go tla ko itse keng honestly ne nka la ka tsa go tla ko mare I don't have money really. Moruti se o se buang gore ha re fetsa go gola ra spenda ya fela re tletse ka dimolo ha re fetsa gape ra tirong ro bereka. That's true Moruti. Yano I see ke ne le ditlogolo. I will start ka ditlogolo tsa ka Moruti a modimang ka dimile matsatsi ke phela. I'll start to teach them how to save. Honestly Moruti ke o dirisa o dirisang o buileng ke go utlweletse sentle Moruti gore o ba rutile go save not to spend. So modima ka dime matsatsi ke rute ditlogolo tsa ka
Amen.
wa kwa ka o itse keng oh Moruti dijara tsa ka di ile hle ke ya ko 60 yo but ke boleletse bana ke ka re ke batla buka eo ke tlo ba rekela abutile ausi ke tlo ba rekela. My son ke buile na tsela pedi daughter ke re se go faditse tsela pedi itse ke Moruti ke tlo ba rekela dibuka tseo modima mphe tšhelete ke ba promise ke batla ba bale ba dule mo fatshe. Abuti a ise a nyale o isilene ke gona tlo berekang o feditse sekolo last year. Yo Moruti your teachings, they are very very important for bana ba rona o itse keng. Thank you so much Mama Sibongile. Re rutegile ra rutega santse re tlo rutega o rutega o bo o swa o le motho but ka di-finances it's very important ka tota e re ha motho a fetsa go felelwa ke mosebetsi wa bolwa ke depression ka gore ha rena moya wa go save na le moya go spend. That's our problem. Ke se re bolayang ke mme Matselapedi.
Thank you Mama.
Matselapedi Mama Sibongile. Oh, I love this topic so much.
Thank you so
Wonderful
much, Ma.
day.
I love the fact that she says, we didn't teach our children, but I'm going to get the book for my children and teach my grandchildren.
Wow.
All right, you were calling in, but I couldn't take the call because Mama Lebepe was still on the line. So I needed to give her all that time to wrap it up. She recorded. So you can call again, 012-334-1322, 012-334-1322. Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the grandchildren will be empowered because that's what we were taught as well from an early age, that you
know,
get
I just
paid.
wanted to visit
and-
something that you said, Sibongile.
Yeah.
You know, it just stuck on my mind
Okay,
when
which
you
one,
said,
Moruti?
what about family demands?
Yeah.
It's a bit concerning because I would really emphasize that let's help people from what we can afford, not from what they demand. Because you see, I honestly don't think we must suffer for people's lack of their personal finance management.
I think, Muruti, you are saying help. I love the
You
word
must-
that you
thank
are
you
using
so
the
much.
word help.
Let's help, right?
But
Yes.
now the families, some of the families don't see it as it's an
entitlement of some sort. It's a payback.
Yes.
Yeah.
We raised you up, we took you to school, so we're expecting for. They even tell you how much they don't ask.
That's sad.
Let's take a family member on the line. Hi, family. How are you?
Hi, Sibongile, how are you?
Is it Pali Pali?
Yes.
Hi, Palisa.
Sibongile, I actually meant to ask, is not paying tithes also a factor of why we always do?
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then I wanted also to ask Moruto, if that is a factor, how then do you correct your mistakes to say, I have not been tithing, but I am broke? So how do I now manage my money to a point where now I can
tithe,
I can save, and then my money can also be enough for my other needs as well?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll just listen on the
Thank you,
radio.
Pali Pali, for
Thank you.
clarifying. So she wanted to say, if you're not already paying tithe, that's the factor she was talking about down there.
And you want to get to a place
now
where
you want
can
to,
afford.
you want to heal and even tithe and save. How do you?
That's why financial fitness coach is so important. Like financial fitness coaching, it's so important because it will really help you to see where you can adjust your spending habits in order to afford certain things that are extremely important in your life. And I have had clients that come and speak to me and they thought they could not afford not just tithing, but the most significant things in their lives. They would think, I can't afford anything. You know, I had a guy that says, I can't pay for anything. I can't even pay attention. Like, I can't pay for anything. So, and
Muruti, I don't want to laugh.
but when we start talking and then we go through the budgets, all of a sudden, and let me tell you, the miracle is not in what you don't have. The miracle of your financial breakthrough is already disposable to you. It's in what you already are making. We can work with what you have. We can work with your income. We don't have to worry about stuff you don't have. We don't have to worry about inflation. We don't have to worry about, US dollar versus rents. No, we just have to work with what you are currently making, and we will find your freedom right there. And we can establish freedom to a point where you start doing things that are important to you, maybe because of religious value, tithe, for example, or maybe because of parental value like education, maybe because of personal needs like a need for a housing or a car. But fitness coaching can get you to that point.
Fitness coaching can get you to that point. One step at a time, right?
One step at a time.
Yeah, and I think with the coach, I've seen how coaches would do it even in the with soccer or when you exercise.
No, we really get on you. We leave the chair and start speaking into your head.
Yes.
No, you don't deserve this kind of life. Look at you. And before you leave that office, you will leave knowing that, you know what? I have nobody to be angry at it but myself.
Yeah.
And then that's how you change your life.
So, Moruti, going back to the family issue, should we be saying to our families, you are really not entitled to it? I know you that you have done this, and I know that I would also love to help. How should we address that? Because black tax is a serious matter. Like serious
We're
matter.
going to have a whole topic on that one of these days, right?
We have to.
I feel that. And because we all deal with that in one way or the other. But just to throw in an advice is, I believe we all have what we consider, a perfect way to communicate with our families Maybe the tone you use to talk to your family members might not be the exact tone that I use to speak to my family members. No,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, blessed are the peacemakers. You don't want to sound like you are hitting back. You don't want to sound like
You are
no,
disrespectful.
don't come for my money. Yeah, you know, you don't want to end up there, right?
Yeah.
The aim is to solve a problem. It's basically to solve a problem and not to solve each other. So I would say you should find a cordial means, especially with as a family member you consider to be entitled and consider to be troublesome, and some can go to toxic extent where if you say to them, I cannot afford, then it's something else. They go talk about you, they go say stuff, send you messages telling you how ungrateful you are, that they have been there in your life, and now that some might even blame your spouse for it and say, yeah, we know
You're the reason since you came into his life.
The reason why all of that. So I would say, in a nutshell, that find a most constructive way of communicating that, but don't be a victim of someone else's emergencies or circumstances. And most of the time we have done that. There are people whose financial problems are all honestly not their own makings. They are not. There are people, Sibongile, who can get paid and surrender their income to someone else and remain frustrated themselves. The Bible says you can only love your neighbor as you love yourself. So it really has to start with you. And helping someone does not have to make you helpless. You know, I don't have to be helpless because I've helped you. You know, I should help you because I can, and from a place of convenience. So not from a place of demand. Even God does not expect us to give. Can you imagine? The Bible says God loves a cheerful giver. So it has to
He
be
doesn't
cheerful.
force us.
It's not force. It's not manipulation. It's not blackmail. It's not extortion. It's not if you don't, then you are not. Then you and I are not good friends. Not anything like that.
Yeah. Sure, I know. We really need to have that talk.
We need to
We
have talk
really
on
need to
black
have-
text.
I was so saddened, I think, at the beginning of the year, seeing somebody who in the public eye going through that with their own family.
Yo, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. That was bizarre and dramatic. And you know, when it escalates to that proportion, it's frustration. You see, people are tired and then they just take it all out there on platforms that I think they could have decided better. But that's what happens when things are left unattended for a long time.
Hey, Murut, I'm definitely sure that today we are not wrapping up.
No, not at all. We need to come back to
We
that
are
issue.
not
Yeah,
wrapping up.
Yeah.
I don't know if we do have the time for the rule that you talk about, the 50.
Yeah, well, I can
30
do
and
about 5
20.
minutes on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, there's a question on the 50, 30-20 rule.
Yeah.
For
All
example,
right.
I'm
going to stop you there.
Okay,
Let's check
okay.
if it's a question first from a family member, then come back to the rule if we have time. Hi, Sibongile. I sometimes use the strategy of writing everything down and the estimated prices, then take cash, not card, to avoid impulsive buying. Because kunzima, especially when grocery shopping, you'll be looking at things you don't really need. I can't remember where I had it, because but it helps most of the time. Thank you, Muruti, for these teachings. Some of us might have started a bit late, but it's not late for our children.
Amen.
But we also need to be good examples.
Exactly. I love a strategy of leaving the cats at home and taking some cash.
Yeah.
And I really hope it works for you. And please keep up. That's a good money habit. There are people who have done that and then do a cash send to themselves at the mall still with their cats at home. But don't do that. Don't try that at home. Keep up the good work. It's a good money habit to try and keep yourself in the budget and avoid. I love what she said about avoiding impulsive spending.
Yeah.
Very good money habit right there. Thumbs up to you.
Yep. Muruti, that 5 minutes starts now.
Ooh. And I think we're going to get... Okay, there are people who would advise you that, spend 50%. It's called the 50-30-20 rule.
Yeah.
Remember I said spend 75% and then give 10% and then save 15% when you are starting. Other people will say, if do 50, 30, 20. That means spend 50% on your need, 30% on your wants, and then 20% saving. I always say to people, the fact that so many people struggle with 10% called tithe, it tells you how difficult it will be for so many people to start with 20% of saving on top of what they are already struggling with, which is the tithe. So I would say I want to clarify something with the 50, 30, 20. That it's for people that have already mastered certain money habits and have already cleared certain debts. For example, when I started, I started with 10, 15, 75, right? And then I became debt-free. And when I say debt-free, it means now my car was fully paid as well, right? And I didn't buy another car. So I then directed the very same installment that I was paying to savings. You see how then I grew from 15%, and now I am at a place where I'm saving about 30% a month. So I always say to people, don't be confused with these rules. Other people will sell you 70, 20, 10. You're not living in America. I mean, some of those ratios are given for certain income ratios and people who earn at a certain level. But in South Africa, we struggle with basic incomes. We struggle with people earning below living wage and all of that. So I honestly wanted to put in the word that when you start with 10, 15, 75. And once you have mastered that and you have cleared certain debts, then don't go on lifestyle inflation and then just getting a new hairpiece or what. And instead you can increase your savings from a place of settling debts. I wanted to clarify that because it's sort of a confusion to so many people. A lot of people say, I started this 50, 30, 20 rule. Before I knew it, I went for my savings account and I liquidated everything I saved. And since then, I will never save in my life again. So I'm going to say to you, don't do it that way. Start with baby steps. 15, 10, 75.
Because that one might discourage you in the long run.
Don't set up a huge bar for yourself that you can't even afford.
Sure, Moruti. And if you need more of this, on the 29th it's happening.
On the 29th is happening. People, let us meet there. And by the way, you can get yourself a copy of my book, Life After Death. You will get more of what Sibongile and I are talking about in my book. And you can use the same number we gave, 071352.
The name of the book?
Life After Death.
And I'm glad Caroline Tsilapedi said,
for my children.
Yes, and even for her children. 071?
0713524581. Send us a WhatsApp text there and ask for this book, and we will get it straight to your house, no matter where you are in South Africa.
So for somebody who just came in now, who didn't hear exactly what's happening on the 29th?
On the 29th, you are a stranger by now if you don't know what's happening. It's not a public holiday, guys. On the 29th, we are hosting the School of Money. And it's happening at Sterland Cinema this month of March on the 29th. It's a Saturday. And registration is 500. If you want to come, send us a WhatsApp number 0713524581 with the word School of Money, and we will send you all the information.
Koli says, Muruti, you shouldn't have mentioned cash send. I've never thought of it.
I just planted a bad seed in your mind. Just pretend you didn't hear me. Block me on WhatsApp for better advice. Yes.
So, yes, my family, let's meet on the 29th. Radio Pulpit will be there. Sibongile will be there. And Muruti will be unleashing and even answering some of the questions at the School of Money at Sterland in Pretoria. Kona Beatrix. What's Beatrix now? What's that name?
I think it's still Beatrix. I used to call it Beetroot.
Beatrix and Pretoria's.
Yes, Pretoria's and Beatrix.
Yeah, that's where we're meeting, my family, on the 29th. And if you'd also like the book, Refile Popani says, hi, Sibongile, I would like to have that book, please. So call 071 352 4581. 071 352 4581.
Send us a WhatsApp, Refilwe, and we'll give you the details.
Moruti, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Always
much. It's
awesome
a
to
pleasure.
talk to you about
I can go
this.
back out and enjoy the rain while you hide from the cold.
Madam Moruti, you need to come back and wrap this up.
We are coming
Okay.
back. We
All
are back
right.
here very soon.
So, family, do you remember for the book Life After Debt, and for coming to this the what do you call it? Stayalenta again to the School of Money 071-352-4581. You can just WhatsApp your numbers right there. I mean your message to that number. Hey, Sibongile, WhatsApp your message to that number 071-352. 4581.
Ta-da.
Thank you. Hey, Moruti,